It is easy to set a goal. It is easy to come up with how you're going to accomplish the goal. But that's like 20%.
Hi, it's Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to be bringing guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode.
Hi, it's your Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Inside this episode, I want to talk about scaling your business. But before we do that, we've got to talk about something that nobody wants to talk about, which is how do you scale yourself inside of your business? So welcome to this episode. There's a lot of talk out there about scaling, the science of scaling, the art of scaling, 10x easier than 2x. And these are all not just great principles, but these are sound strategies that advisors can use to double, triple, quadruple, I guess in essence, 10x their business. The challenge, though, that I've seen when I look at advisors and their approach to it, they look at the business first. They start determining the org chart. They start determining the budgets and how much new money do we need to bring in, how many clients, how many businesses are we going to have to acquire, and all those things are relevant and accurate, but they're missing the key cornerstone component. So what I'm going to do in this episode is I'm going to take you through my approach to scaling a practice, and I'm going to use my coaching practice as the model, which, by the way, is very similar to a financial advisory firm. So let's start off. I begin with a 10-year vision. So this is my approach. This is my brand new approach. I ask myself, what do I want my business to look like 10 years from now? So in essence, what is it I'm going towards? And it has to be detailed. And what I realized in doing my own work, where we get caught is not that the goal's too big or that we have a fear of failure or we have a fear of success. What we get caught up in is the prime question of, do we deserve it? Because when you take your financial advisory practice out a decade, and let's say you're doing $2 or $3 million of top line revenue, Would it be outside the box to think that we have the capabilities of doing 10 to $15 million of top line revenue? No, of course not. But as soon as you put that in your brain, your filter goes to, do I deserve that? Not to, how hard is it, or what does the practice need to look like, or what am I going to be doing? The first hurdle in the game is, do you deserve it? So once you are, and I spent a lot of time getting, working that, I use the word problem, working the problem to get myself aligned to why I deserve it. And that'll be probably for a whole different episode. But I literally have to sit there and ask myself, do I deserve it? And then I have to, like, in my brain, go through, I don't know how many different iterations of the value I create, my success stories with other advisors, my clients, coming up to where, yes, I absolutely deserve what I'm going to create. So once you clear that hurdle, now you kind of detail out your practice, right? So in our world, it's going to be, how many clients do you want? What's your top line? How much money do you have under management? What does the team look like? How are you spending your days? Like, you want to get as detailed as possible, right? And I know what some of you are saying. Well, man, like Joe, I can't figure out what I'm going to do a year from now. Never mind, like a decade from now. This is the muscle that you must exercise. Isn't that the game of scaling? Do you do like a 3-year scale and then stop? No, you play the game. So you get out there again. I know some of you sitting there go, well, Joe, I'm 65 years old. I said, okay, well, unless you're planning to sell your business or drop dead in the next decade, guess what? We better get after it, right? We better go do the things that we need to do to be successful and to make our game happen. So we do that anyway, irregardless. That's the point. Then once I've got that figured out and I've got my business world figured out, then I'm going to go to the next element, which is I'm going to figure out my personal world in detail. So if you have a partner, a life partner, this is a great couples exercise where you sit down and you build how you want you to live your life, how do you want your days to go, what the bucket list looks like, what the experiences are, all those things. How's your health inside that game, your personal relationships, all those things.
Hi, Coach Joe Lucas here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode.
And I literally took hours and I detailed out my business world. And I took hours and I detailed out my personal world. Then I did something I've never done before. I took both of them and I dropped them into a narrative. I combined them. So think of it this way. One box was the business goals, like bullet points, bullet points, bullet points, bullet points, bullet points, right? Then the second box was personal goals and conditions, bullet points, bullet points, bullet points. And then what I did is I created a narrative, like a scene in a movie is probably the best way, where I created, okay, here's my personal world, here's my business world, it all's meld. Here it is 10 years from now. So that would, at the time I'm recording this, would be 2036. I will be 71 years old. And I put it all out there. And then I did one more thing, which is incredibly important. I asked myself the question, who am I inside of that 10-year scene? So in other words, how do I operate? How do I act? How do I behave? How do I, in essence, roll inside that scene? And what that did for me was create a super clear definition of who I needed to become to pull it off. Because here's the reality of goals. It is easy to set a goal. It is easy to come up with how you're going to accomplish the goal. But that's like 20%. Where the juice is, the 80%, is why is it a must? And it can't be I'd like to or I hope. Like, why is it a must? But even more critical than the why is Who do you need to become? And this is where advisors lose it. There's a missing piece here where they focus on the business and the org chart, on the marketing plan and stuff like that, but they never put enough energy and effort into who they need to become. I was just doing a one-on-one with one of my personal clients recently, and he asked me, Joe, what is the difference in the business from a $1 million operation to a 2 million, to 2 million to a 4 million to a 6? All great questions. And I said to him, I said, that's not the right question. The question you should be asking me is, what does the $1 million version of me look like versus the $2 million? What's the $4 million versus the 2 million? What's the $8 million versus the $4 million? Like, in other words, who do you need to become to execute? Because this is what happens, and I want you all to hear me on this. What will get in your way of you accomplishing your goal is not external forces. Yes, the market will do what it does, and yes, geopolitical things will be what they are, and the economy and. But ultimately, what it's going to boil down to for you is, can you define the next version of you and then move towards that? So back to my narrative, right? So I create this 10-year, I create this character. I then pull the character out of the scene, and I write it out. Okay, here's the character of Joe Lukacs 2036, right? Write it all out. And then it struck me. The sooner I become that person, the sooner I evolve into that version of me, is the faster the 10-year goal will actually happen. See, you can talk about scaling your business to your blue in the face. You can bring in the consultants, the marketing coaches, the traction people, all those. And those are, and by the way, they're all important. So I'm not here to say no. But it really won't matter unless you go ahead and create the next version, that 10x version of you. That is the key. So before you go ahead, and that's why I'm giving you this exercise in this episode, before you go ahead and invest, and by the way, you'll get a much greater outcome when you do bring these experts in. So before you go bring in the traction consultant or integrator and the marketing coach and all this other stuff, get super clear on your 10-year vision, personally, professionally. Get very clear on who you need to become inside of that scene 10 years from now. And then make a commitment to start moving towards that new identity. Because at the end of the day, your practice is based upon the man or woman in the mirror. It is a reflection of you. What you believe, what you value, what you focus on, your levels of being uncomfortable in terms of leadership, standards, execution, the quality of people you attract to your collaboration, like all those things matter. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. You cannot scale your business without scaling yourself first. And if you're just not focused on that and not putting a definitive plan together with resources to make that be a reality, whether you need to work on your health, your mindset, both, your confidence, your competence, whatever it is, you're not working on that. Chances of you being successful at scaling the game, I'm not saying you won't make some progress, it just won't be that great. So I want to thank you for listening and watching this episode of Magellan Network Show. If you have any questions or resources that you need, MagellanNetwork.net. Have a great Friday. See you in 7 days.
Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game both personally and professionally.